Welcome back to another episode here on the Crash Out League. Some crazy stuff that went down in the previous week. It's so much shit to talk about. Please buckle up, fasten your seatbelt. We going for a ride. We going all over the place, but I promise you, the content is going to be top tier. Man, go
Absolutely.
ahead. Let's take it.
Absolutely. Well, happy to be back this week, man. And let's get straight into it. A-Dub, pull up the fantasy recap, man. Let's go over our scores that we had this week. As you can see there, sure enough, Smooth Criminal takes the dub over Team Luck. Man, at the time, it was number 9 against number 1. Able to get that first one. And so Mills Mafia taking down Run It Back. Team Fabo falling to Shake and Bake. Mocity Menace falling to Free Wave Mike, the new man at the top. And what is that, A-Dub? I'm sorry. What's that number right there next to Team DMV Bamas? What number does that say?
I'm trying to make sure my glasses are clean.
Right.
So I can understand what's on the field, what's in front of us. But I believe that says DMV Bamas 101.22 versus Team Fuck 'em 97.36, meaning Team DMV Bamas got their first win on the season, baby.
Sir, come on.
No more winless teams here in this league.
No, sir.
We was rooting and seeing if he was going to get him one, and he came and he climbed the ladder and got him one. Hey, shout out to Coach Matt, man, for not giving up on the season and finding out a way to get a win, man. I love to see it.
Now, check this out, because this very well could end up being a thing where we talked about it. He was going to start pulling some people down with him. He might have just sent Coach Cam straight out of the playoffs, but we'll break down that for you later on. Nonetheless, here are our winners and here are our losers for the week. And so we got to go for game of the week. Hey, Dub, and for you, what's game of the week, man?
I'm going to go, for me personally, I'm going to go right here with Shake and Bake and Team Fabo. It was our highest points competitive between two organizations in a single game, where Shake and Bake is the game of the week, but also my upset of the week by putting up 170. 170, man. We've been talking about this man all season. He can't put up points. He's figuring out how to play defense in fantasy without playing defense. But this week he decided to show up and show out. Once again, Saquon Barkley showed out, gave him 33. Then you got 17 from Austin Eckler, 25 from Jawar Winnings. Then you got 41 points from Taysom Hill. He had a hell of a day. What an athletic showing from him that helped him get over the hump. So shout out to Coach MB over there, making this a high-scoring game. And Coach Fabian, you came up short. But honestly, man, it's only because he didn't plug in the right guys. He got Ricky Parcell right here that put up a donut in his flex, when he also has J.K. Dobbins for 18 or Josh Downs for 19 and Disley at 18. So there's a couple moves he could have made to make this more competitive, but nonetheless, Coach MB showing up and proving the doubters wrong by putting up 170.
170 on the head top, man. That one is huge, huge, huge. And then I think it goes without saying, right? Upset of the week. You got to give it to the man. Smooth Criminal taking down Team Luck. It was, again, 9 against 1, 129, 102, able to put it up. We know Team Luck. We've had him on this show a lot. But nonetheless, he's been able to find ways to win, but this week couldn't do it. Smooth Criminal pulls off the win. And of course, a special shout out to the one, the only DMV Bamas pulling off for their first win of the season.
Yeah, man, it was a crazy showing this past week. A lot of people was going for some playoff implications and to shake it up. And dare I say it, the playoffs tree has been shaken.
Yeah.
But to also go into it talking about something that's been shaken up, let's talk about our crash outs for this week, for getting a little shaked up this past week. And as you can see, it's pretty obvious who they are. But let's go ahead and start it off here
Let's take a
with
look.
running back Coach Jay Gill, only putting up 91 points this past week versus Mills Mafia, who had a top-notch, top 3 fantasy finish this past week. He just struggled. His players didn't show up. Even though Tyreek Hill finally gave him a decent game this week, it still wasn't enough because everybody else didn't put up points.
Yeah.
Dare I say, when your defense and your kicker put up the most points, one of the
Right.
most points throughout your whole team, you won't be able to get a win like that. So,
Right. I mean,
Coach J. Gill was
it's
one of our crash outs.
it's easy to say that hindsight is 2020, and that's certainly true. But I mean, you see the points that Lamar Jackson put up compared to what Jared Goff had, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's difficult to not kind of be kicking yourself and say, man, I should have plug and played him. But again,
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those where hindsight is 2020. But Lamar Jackson is one of those players in fantasy where he's just so consistent every week. But the week that he doesn't have that consistency, you feel it, and you feel it a lot. And so that one, I think that one really did him in this week. But again, 163, it's tough to compete with that in this kind of league.
Yeah.
And then nonetheless, we got to go with the second crash out. We got 2 crash outs for you this week, folks.
Well,
and it's running back. Or my apologies, it's Team Fuck'em. It's got to be. 97, you don't get to 100 points, unfortunately. And you give DMV Bamas their first win of the season. Again, a couple guys you got to plug and play here and there, but just not really the kind of performances that you were looking for from your starting lineup.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with those 2 crash outs, honestly, Manny, which one would you rather be? The one that crashed out and lost to somebody put on 163, or the one that crashed out and gave a winless team their first win on the season?
Oh man, I don't know, man. See, I think the thing is, right, because they were in a similar position coming into the week. Running back was at 7, Fuckham was at 6. So I think I'd rather be at 7 because the floor is a lot closer. Because at 6, you're like, man, you know what, dude? I'm on that fringe playoff spot. I can get myself in there. You needed the performance this week, and unfortunately, you just didn't get it from your players. So I think this one hurts a little bit more. Now, for running back, it hurts also because you're like, dude, if I could have somehow won this week, I would have jumped up a couple places. But again, I don't think there's any shame in losing to 163. Even if you plugged and played in your right guys, you probably weren't projected for that much more. It would have been a little more competitive. But again, a 163 is really difficult, whereas Coach Cam losing by just 4, that one hurts a lot.
Yeah.
As we move on, we take a look at our power rankings. And once again, a new man at the top. God bless Kamerica, Coach Mike, sitting at 8-3 alone at the top. It's been very rare this season that we've had a single player stay at the top. A lot of times we've had guys really sharing a lot of different records, but that not the case here. At the top in King Luck, the previous number 1 sits there now as he finds himself at 7-4. And then again, you see it, 6-5 being shared by a lot of our coaches here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4. My apologies. 4. Count them up. 4 teams that share the same record. But don't give up now, because 7, 8, and 9 all share the same record as well. 5 and 6, a 6 and 5, a 5 and 6 to flip. So there's still a lot of possibility for this last week to shake up some things heavy. I mean, heavy.
Yeah. I mean, just as Manny said, bro, don't take your foot off the gas. It's just a flip between 6-5 and 5-6. This last week here in the regular season, like we finna go over, it could change the whole look of what we're seeing right now, just based off who gets a win, who gets a loss, who put up a certain amount of points, and who doesn't. So don't think because you are in the picture right now that it's time to get comfortable, But speaking on who should be getting comfortable and who need to lock in still. let's go ahead and go back to the segment that I introduced last week. Welcome to the hunt.
Woo.
So, like I said last week, the hunt is just here in the last few weeks of regular season where you either are the prey or you the predator. You either gonna keep somebody out of the playoffs or you somebody that's just trying to claw your way in. And all this is wins versus losses, stats of points put up versus other people points putting up. And it's all gonna come down to this last week that we're going into. Now let's go ahead and do a quick little review real quick.
Yes, sir.
Just like we just introduced, God Bless Kamerica at 1, Team Luck at 2, Team Fabo at 3, Mills Mafia at 4, Mocity Menace at 5. Then you got Shake and Bake at 6, Smooth Criminal at 7, Team Fuck'em at 8, Running Back at 9, and Team DMV Bamas at 10. Now, just to go through it real quick, God bless Kamerica. You have clinched your way into the playoffs. Congratulations. There's nothing that can happen this week that will get you removed from the playoffs. But what can happen this week is whether or not if you secure the number one spot this week. Mm-hmm. If you end up losing, there's a chance that you can drop to the number 2 seed if Team Lux gets the win because he put up more points than you this season. But if you lose and they lose, you remain at the number 1 seed. So all this just depends on which side of the bracket that you want to be on at this point. Now, Team Luck, congratulations to you as well. You have secured your spot here in the playoffs in the Crash Out League. In order for you to get the number 1 spot, you not only need to win this week, you need to hope that Coach Mike loses this week so you can be able to go up into the number 1 spot. And you also got to hope that Coach Mike don't put up enough points to keep the number 1 spot.
Right. Big congratulations to both those coaches, man. You got the first check marks of the season, but that means that we got ourselves a lot of spots. Now, of course, we know that, unfortunately, down at number 10, we talked about it a few weeks, RIP to the playoff hopes for Team DMV Bamas. So that means 3 spots are accounted for. A-Dub, 7 people are still in the hunt.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. So, sitting at number 3, we're going through all the 65 teams, but Team Fabo is in the most control out of all the 65 teams. Win this week will damn near guarantee you a spot here in the playoffs because you put up the highest points out of all the 65 teams. So if you get a win, it's a guarantee that you're in and you have a good place here in the playoffs ranking. But if you lose, that leaves you in a bad spot because all the other 65 teams can come up and push you down in the rankings all the way to possibly maybe missing the playoffs. So lock in, get a win. That should be the only thing that's on your mind if you want to secure your spot.
Got to.
Mills Mafia, we've been talking about this team all season long, Manny. The defending champ had a rough going here in the regular season, but nonetheless, he did the same thing last season. He didn't have the most magnificent regular season, but then he went on a beautiful playoff run. Now, Coach, if you want to do that again, you need to get into the playoffs. So what you got to do, you got to get a win, but you also got to hope that a couple of these 6-5 teams get a loss and also not put up more points than you this week that will accumulate the off course for you to get pushed down even more. Right. Now, it's unlikely that you will miss the playoffs if you win or lose, but if you want to secure your spot and make it definite, you definitely need to go ahead and get you a win here this week. Mocity Menace, another 65 team, came off a loss in the last week. Now, this team right here, you're kind of on the fence. You're kind of on the bubble right now because you're the lower end, one of the lower ends of the 65 teams. Mm-hmm. So a win this week gives you a strong chance for you to make the playoffs. It's not guaranteed, but depending on the points that are put up based off at the end, there's a very good chance that you make the playoffs. You know, you'll need Team Fabo or Mills Mafia to lose or outscore, by 10 to 15 points for you to feel safe. A loss likely eliminates you, depending on how the other teams match up and if there's wins or losses going all the way around.
Yep.
So a win here gets you in. Shake and bake. There's nothing, to really analyze here. There's a must win for you this week.
Absolutely.
As a team who hasn't put up that many points besides last week, if you don't get your win this week and one of these 5 and 6 teams at the bottom gets a win this week, it almost guarantees that you will miss the playoffs. The only thing that has you over these teams that are below you is because you have a higher record than them. If you want to keep it that way, you need to figure out a way to get a win this week. So a win is a guarantee for you. And no other than the dark horse himself, Smooth Criminal, who just came off an unbelievable upset against the number 1 team. Your playoffs hopes are still alive. If you win this week against another number 1 team, against Coach Mike and GBK, based off the points that you have right now, you would need Shake and Bake to lose the Mills Mafia and have those points battle it out, and it will ultimately put you over Shake and Bake for you to get the number 6 spot. If Shake and Bake finds a way to get a win, you are out of the playoffs even if you win. But ultimately, if you lose, you're finished. Team fuck 'em. There's so many things you need to happen for you to make the playoffs. It's ultimately just going to come down to you just need to focus on getting a win this week some way, somehow.
And pray.
And pray. Because you got to depend on some people losing, you putting up a magnificent showing in points, other people struggling this week in points. You need a miracle. So I say keep fighting to the end, but your chances are very slim. And team, run it back. As you can see, as it says right there, you're hanging by a thread. You need it to win both weeks, like I said last week, to even be in competition of being inside the playoffs, because you was the bottom 2 teams out of those 5 and 5 with points. So even if you get a win this week and you go back to competing with those same guys, you will still have less points than them. So, focus on getting a win and try to put up as many points as you can, but there's a greater chance that you will miss the playoffs this season.
It's going to be difficult.
Based off last week. And Team DV Bamas, man. Hey, you missed the playoffs, but hey, forget all that. Let's not focus on that. Let's focus on you getting your first win on the season. Let's just focus on that and being happy about that. But
very nice. By the way, A-Dub, can you go back real quick? One. Very nice logo for DMV Bamas.
Yeah.
That is clean right there. The crown, the cursive, I like that. So hey, you got that for you. But look, a lot of these teams, right? They need some miracle to happen, or they need somebody to lose. But DMV Bamas, the pressure's not on you. That's the message. Hey, the pressure's not on us. So just go out and play, because the pressure's on them to get in, and so you can continue to ruin some people's season. And surely, I think that's what the game plan is. But wonderful logo and great rundown, A-Dub.
Now, just to sum it up, our biggest storylines. Elimination games this week is for Shake and Bake versus Mills Mafia. That game ultimately is a win or go home matchup. If Shake and Bake loses, one of the 5 or 6 teams win, he's going home. If Mills Mafia loses and Mocity, Menace, Team Fabo gets a win, it's going to push Mills Mafia down. And if one of the 5 or 6 teams win and they ultimately put up some more points, he will be out. Top seeded battles that's going on is between Team Luck and Team GBK with Coach Mike. They are fighting for the number 1 spot. That's the only thing y'all need to focus on. Don't sweat it. The dark horses still in these playoffs runs is Smooth Criminal and Team Fuck 'em. They could completely change this whole playoff race by getting a win this week. So pay close attention to those 2 organizations. Upset alerts to also focus on. Running back, Team DMV Bamas. They have nothing to lose, and those are the worst teams to play,
Absolutely.
especially
Absolutely.
on a week that's going to determine if you get into these playoffs or not. This is the worst time to run into a team that's like, man, fuck it, I'm going to just do what I do, and I'm going to see if I can just get me a win to finish it off. Those are the worst teams to play, so pay attention to those matchups as well, man, because the next game will decide it.
This is really the most exciting time in like getting up to these playoffs, right? Is we've had this league that's had so much kind of back and forth roundabout play that there are legitimately 7 people, 7 teams who could have their fate changed the end of next week. By the time that we're talking here, A-Dub, these power rankings, this playoff picture could be completely different. This is
Yep.
what makes it so exciting. This is why we do this. So, again, to you teams, to you coaches, that it's win or go home. You got to win. And here in the Crash Out League, you can't feel bad about it. You got to go out and do it because they wouldn't feel bad about kicking you out of the playoffs.
Yep.
So, again,
Yep.
if you want to take home the trophy at the end of the season, you want that nice pocket of cash, you got to get into the big dance to get there. So
Yep.
got to win, got to find yourself a way into the tournament at the end of the season, A-Dub.
Yep. And speaking on going towards the end of the season, let's go ahead. Let's dive into the different matchups here for Week 12 coming up.
Woo-wee.
So here we go, right here, Manny. If you want to take it from here,
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Appreciate it. So, of course, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but Smooth Criminal, after taking down last week's number one, now has to find himself going against this week's number one in GBK. So, it's a big time task this week. They're going to have to figure it out. They got a couple people out on both sides. As you see there by the 51 to 48 projection, I'm more than sure they're not going to keep it like that. So there's a lot of kind of coaching that really needs to get done and to be that great GM. So we will surely figure out who is ready to go and who's ready to get into it. But again, Criminal, you got to get a win. On this next one, Shake and Bake and Mills Mafia, one is sure to be a good one as well. Bake, man, again, it really is. It's that repeating story. You got to win. And for Mills Mafia, I do feel like there's a lot of pressure on him because he's like, hey, man, I was last year's champion. I want to repeat. It just hasn't been the fantastic season that we've come to expect from him. But again, you win, you're in. That's all that matters. And we got coming up, Team Fabo and Run It Back. Again, run it back, man. Start pulling some people down. You could kick Team Fable completely out of the playoffs. Again, some coaching will have to happen here. Plug and play a few guys as there are some bye weeks starting to roll out here in the league and some, as you see there, empty spots. So nonetheless, a lot of GMing, a lot of coaching got to be done in a lot of these games to be able to make sure you have the right lineup. We have Team Luck and DMV Bamas. Team Luck trying to get that number one spot, man. That's what you play for. You got to get that first round bye, and you want to kind of have that easier path and maybe not play somebody who's playing so hot currently. But again, you got to get it done no matter which way. That one's sure to be a big game as Team Luck needs those points, right, to kind of get the jump above and really claim it. And then again, Mocity Menace, team fuck 'em. You're alive, but you got to get there. You got to find a way to win. And again, man, some GMing got to happen on the other side. So we'll see what these teams come up with when it comes Thursday.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's a lot of playoff indication games. I don't know we've been saying this for the past weeks, but we're in the Crash Out League. You got to understand, it's highly competitive all the way to the end every single season. Like, guys, understand. There are 6 playoff spots and 9 people competing for them on the last game of the regular season. We only have 2 teams who has clinched a playoff berth here in the 2024 season. And that didn't come till this week, on the last week here in the regular season. Not at least 4 spots and 7 guys.
Bring your A
It's just
game. That's just plain and
yep,
simple. You got to bring your A game.
yep,
There's nothing else to it.
yep. I mean, if I if I had to pick a game here
Yeah,
to probably pay attention to,
let's do it. Give me your
you
game
know,
of the week, A-Dub. Give it to me, man. What do we got?
um, it, it gotta be Smooth Criminal and God Bless Kamerica. There's too much on the line right here in this game. Both coaches are highly competitive, been competitive since they joined the league. Smooth Criminal is literally on a Cinderella story right now. The guy needed to win the next 2 weeks, and not only the next 2 weeks, both of them was number one at the time that he's playing them. He's David versus Goliath. If you not paying attention to no other matchups, you got to pay attention to this one. Because not only is he trying to bang his way into the dough, God Bless Kamerica is trying to ruin his dreams and hopes of getting into the playoffs and secure his spot at number one in the league.
Yeah. No, I think this is a perfect pick, but actually, I'm gonna go somewhere else with it. I gotta go Mills Mafia and Shake and Bake. This one right here, I think this is the epitome of playoff implications. This is the epitome
Oh,
of win or go home. Right? There's so much pressure for both of these squads. We've talked time and time again. Coach MB plays defense. He doesn't put up a lot of points. Was last week just a one-time thing? Is he gonna regress back to what he had? Is Mills Mafia gonna be able to rise to championship expectations or fall against the pressure? We will see coming this week. So I like this one for my game of the week, A-Dub.
no, I like that. If it was any game this week that was a playoff game, it's this game right here. Because
Yeah.
I keep saying, you either win and go in, or you lose and go home. There's no other way around it for these
No
two
way. Nope.
organizations, man.
So a
Just
couple upsets. Oh, okay. Absolutely. What you got?
I was just gonna talk about the upset, just like you. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we do every week, we got to call some of our upsets, and I think we got to look at the games that DMV Bamas and Run It Back are in. And I think for me, I'm gonna take Run It Back actually in his week, in his matchup. I'm gonna call him to play the
Mm,
spoiler this week.
mm.
I think he is ready to do it. He's ready to go. I think Travis Kelce going against Carolina is going to be a pretty scary matchup. So that might give him some good points. So I think this week I'm going to call Coach Jay Gibb the spoiler and Run It Back to pick up a win and end Team Fabo's playoff hopes.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about a game that will probably throw the biggest wrench into the playoffs pool, it's definitely running back, taking out Team Fabo more than Team DMVB Bamas taking out Team Luck. But
Right,
I'm gonna go
absolutely.
ahead and give them some shine as
Let's
well. I
do it.
mean, they was ultimately find out to figure out a way to get their first win on the season. Who says they can't figure out to get their second win
You want
on
to
the
talk about
season
it?
right
You want to talk about a wrench being thrown into the
now?
everything, man. This will be a lot.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. If he finds a way to get a win, and then these other 65 teams find a way to get a win to come up, Team Luck in 2 weeks will ultimately find himself from number one to maybe in the middle of the pack, 4 or 5. So it'll definitely be an interesting case when it comes to what's going on this week. But nonetheless, there's a lot going on, guys. Please listen and lock in
Got to.
because this week can be your last. Whether you're number 3 all the way to number 9, don't let that number fool you
Mm-mm.
because a win and a loss can change everything for the
Absolutely.
next week coming up.
Absolutely.
But, we'll go ahead and dive into our next segment right here. The commish has sent us a special package for you
Okay,
guys.
let's see it. Let's see it, A
This
Dub.
is
Come
the
on.
first time we have got anything from the commish that he wants us to put on for you guys. But nonetheless, we're going to pull it up for you guys so you guys can see what's going on. But
Woo! You
here
see
we
it.
go.
You see it.
Just just like last season, the commission want to hand out awards to all the coaches and the players at the end of the season. You guys earned it. Y'all work hard. Y'all made this league competitive, and he want to make sure that you guys feel like you being rewarded whether you win this whole thing or not. So here is the Crash Out League 2024 season awards. All these are nominees and people that's up for discussion. Now, we're gonna start off big right here, Manny. Coach of the year. In your opinion, if you had to pick one coach that should be in the nomination for this, who would it be?
Look at the top of the mountain, right? I think you got to. I think Coach Mike is the easy answer. I'm going to go with him as a nomination.
Okay. Let's check him out then. For Coach of the Year, based off the commission and his pickings, he has Team Fabo with Coach Fabian. He has Team Luck with Coach Lucky. He got GBK, aka God Bless Kamerica, with Coach Mike. Just like you said, man, you got to have him in there. Look at the top of the mountain. But to him, these are the three organizations and coaches who has earned the right to be in the running for Coach of the Year. Any opinions on that, Manny?
Respectable. Very respectable list. I will give a special shout, unfortunately, on the back end of this season, he's kind of tailed off. But I think if Coach Cam was sitting at number 3 right now, I think surely he'd have to be on this list, being a rookie coach and all. But unfortunately, not there. Still can find himself in the playoffs. So again, you're still going for the main championship nonetheless. But no notes on this one. I think these are 3 solid picks.
All right. Then we go to Draft Day Guru. Now, just to explain to the folks what that is, it's the award to the coaches who draft on draft day strategy, ultimately figured out a way for them to help them throughout the season. Now, we're not talking about guys who they picked up. We talk about who do we think main pieces carry them throughout the season. And when it comes to awards like that, the commission want to put it up for all the coaches.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because you can't just pick it down to a couple. We want this to be a fair game to see what other people's opinions in. So every single coach, every single organization will be nominated for this award. Waiver Wire Wizard. This one is in the name, but if you don't know, this is to the coach that we believe was in the waiver wire hustling, doing his research and making sure every week that he could get the best guys in his lineup, even if it had to be picking up. So this goes out to the coach who has been in the waiver wires, picking up free agents to help them get weekly wins, also made the best moves for his team. And for this one as well, the commission thinks that this should be an open debate for which coach has made the best moves for his organization. Mr. Impact Award. That award here goes to the coach whose decisions were brilliant or crushing and had the most significant influence on the playoff race and league standings. Meaning, this is going to go down to the organization and coach who people believe created this big fuss of a playoff pool that we got right now. You know what I mean? Regardless if it's because they got a win in a certain week or because they lost in a certain week, you made such an impact that we are in the last week of the regular season where it comes down to 9 teams, you know? So that's going to come down to a couple teams that's been nominated. Team Fabo with Coach Fabian getting hot in the middle of the season. Shake and Bake with Coach MB going ahead finally get wins in them short scoring, low scoring games. Smooth Criminal figuring out how to get a win late against these big time teams and becoming a ruckus here late in the season. And Mills Mafia with Coach Justin, Mr. Consistency himself, whether it was getting a win and putting up major points or taking a loss when people felt like he should have won. Standing on business. Now, this award right here is a favorite award here in this league based off last year. I believe Coach Luck from Team Luck was ultimately win this one last year. But this recognizes the coach who delivered consistent dominance week after week through strategic moves, lineup decisions, and clutch trades. This coach always handled his business and put himself in the right standings week in and week out. And the people that's nominated for that is Mocity Menace with Coach Preach, ultimately finishing all the way at the top here for the playoff race, but throughout the season was putting up major numbers through losses. Then you got Coach Lucky nominated once again off Team
Yep.
Luck.
Yep.
There's nothing more to say about Coach Luck.
Absolutely
He's been
not.
dominant all season long and showing up and showing out. Mills Mafia, going ahead, put him on the board. We can see why he's been nominated. Like we said, when he showed up, he shows out every time, including last week putting up 169. Then you also got GBK with Coach Mike. God bless Kamerica. Being at the top of the mountain, there's no way you don't get nominated for this award right here. Then you got Coach Favorite from T Fabo once again for another award here nominated for going ahead and getting hot in the middle of the season. Rookie Coach of the Year.
Woo.
Hey, hey, this is going to be a very interesting one. It's up for debate right here. And Manny, I am going to ask you who you would nominate yourself if you had to pick starting off today before the last week here in a regular season.
See
You got
that
Team Fabo with Fabian, Shake and Bake with MB, and Team Fucker with Coach Cam.
see that caveat at the end is makes it that more difficult because you're saying before we get into the playoffs, that would makes this pick that much more difficult. But man, I think right now I would have to call Shake and Bake probably my front runner
Mm.
because man, whether the joke is true or not, he's gotten the wins. Whether the points have been there or not, he's gotten the wins, and he's gotten himself into this point where in the beginning it wasn't all that great, or it didn't look all that great. But again, not how you start the race, it's how you finish it, right? So we'll see how we get into it. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, Adele, but all these votes come after or before playoffs start. So after this week, that's
Yep.
when the voting opens. But nonetheless, hey, right now, I would take Team Shake and Bake because they've gotten themselves into this position where they can get themselves a real shot at these playoffs.
I like that. I like that. I like that. Then we got Comeback Coach of the Year. Manny,
Ooh,
I'm going to ask
okay.
you again.
Okay.
You been here all season calling the calls, making the analysts based off who's been doing what. Who do you think should be nominated for this award right here?
Man, again, it's tough because if we're saying this is before playoffs, right? Because if a certain thing happens this week, I know my front absolute choice, and that is
Mhm.
if Smooth Criminal pulls it off and gets himself into the playoffs, that is comeback coach of the year, bar none.
Mm.
I truly believe that's comeback coach of the year because again, you were down and out for the whole season, and for a little while you sat yourself right at 9, and the only reason you weren't 10 was because 10 didn't have any wins, and
Yeah.
now you might get yourself into the playoffs. A very very good story there. I like that pick.
Okay, let's go ahead and see what the commissioner picked as his nominees. You have Team Fabo with Coach Fabian, Mocity Menace with Coach Preach, Smooth Criminal with Coach A Dub, just like you said, man. And that's all our nominations here for this award right here when it comes to Comeback Coach of the Year. Now, this award is the only award that's subject to change. Like we said,
Mm,
this list will be sent out to the coaches and people around the league that support it to make their votes based off what's going on here in the season after the regular season finishes.
right.
So, depending on how this week goes, these are the only things that are subject to change. But biggest upsets that could come up, you got Shake and Bake versus Team Fabo when Shake and Bake put up 170 and beat Team Fabo with 105 roughly here in week 11. Then you got Team DMV Bamas who got their first win on the season. Oh, nah. Mills Mafia versus Shake and Bake and all the way going back to week 3. Then you got Smooth Criminal versus Team Luck here in week 11. Like we said, David versus Goliath going ahead and get his win this past week. Then you got Team DMV Bombers versus Team Fuck'em. Then you got Team Luck versus Team Fuck'em in week 1.
One.
And
Wow.
then Team fuck them versus Mills Mafia again in week 8. Now, a lot of things going on with this award right here. A lot of things going on with all the different awards. But like I said, that's the only one that's subject to change when it comes to these nominations. All the
Absolutely.
other ones, no matter what happens here in this last week, are there to stay and for people to choose from. But like we said, we're in a crazy time right now. So upsets are bound to happen again here in this week. So you might see a completely new James of Six when it comes to the biggest upset here on this season.
Absolutely. Very, very true, Ed. I mean, a lot of awards up. Great call on the commission's part to say, hey, let's give everybody a chance to take home something, by the end of this year. So a really, really great job over there on that side, and a lot of really interesting matchups, especially on that biggest upset. But I know a lot of people are going to have some eyes on this week coming up, as there's plenty of upsets to be had. Now, we go ahead and we go into the segment that we have every week. The reason why we do it, let's look at some NFL action coming up this
Yes,
week.
sir.
It is so exciting as we are getting into it. I am currently at 16 and 11, A-Dub at 18 and 9 on the season,
Mhm.
both above 500, both calling some pretty good games. Now, as we sit here, we check out the first one, the 49ers taking on the Packers, taking on the Pack at 3:25 Central Time, 4:25 EST on Sunday. You already see him. Hey, Dub, who could you possibly have in this match?
Come on, man. What we talking about? I bleed green. I bleed yellow. If you cut me, you gonna be like, damn, is he human?
49ers
Nah, I
have
just
yellow.
bleed. 49ers got gold. Let's get that straight. Ain't no yellow over there. You cross that line over here, you will get clapped. I got the Packers going ahead, beating the 49ers at home Sunday in the evening, going into nighttime football. You can't ask for a better atmosphere. Give me the Packers to get the win this week.
We have, well, actually, you know what? I'm going to give my pick on this one. And you know what, A-Dub? I'm going to go with you on this. I'm going to take the
Come
Packers as well.
on.
I'll
I mean,
take the
how could you
Packers as
not?
well
How could
because
you not?
it's been quite difficult over there on the 49ers side. He just lost to the Seahawks. They hadn't beaten you in some years. It was a little difficult. Nonetheless, I'll take
Just
the
just just
Packers.
say just say you became a fan after we walked into the AT&T Stadium and gave
Uh,
y'all belt the
I'm
ass. Just
definitely
just
not.
say it.
I'm
Just
definitely
say
not a
it.
fan of the
After being
ugliest
traumatized about that,
of the
after being traumatized
ugliest
by that,
color
I would pick
uniform
us too.
combo in the
Okay.
league. I mean, by far
Okay.
the nastiest
Ugliest?
combo, nastiest.
Hey,
And then you want to talk about the throwbacks where it looks like y'all aren't
okay.
even wearing pants. That was
Hey, bro.
nasty also.
Hey, it was World War II and all type of stuff going on. Nobody was in their right mind. You can't judge us for that.
Anyways, Sunday night football, man. The most exciting time on a Sunday. Eagles versus Rams, 8:20 EST, 7:20 Central Time. Two teams that are themselves trying to find themselves in that playoff picture. As we're getting down into it, you know what, man? I think I got to go here with the Rams at home. Puka Nakua starting to get his footing back. Looks really good. That connection is always going to be there, really. And they're going to continue to work in that kind of scheme. So I like the Rams in this one, especially at home. I think they play a lot better at home than opposed to on the road. And I don't think the Eagles really enjoy being on the road. So I'll take the Rams in this one.
Yeah, this one's a tough one for me. It could go either way, and it wouldn't be surprising for me. With the Eagles' defense getting hot right now in the middle of the season, locking up star receivers on other team, how they did to Terry McLaurin, two receptions. I mean, two targets for one reception, and it all came on the back end of the game. He almost went 3 quarters with no touches at
Yeah,
all. So when you talk about that, it makes you hesitate. But with the Rams having two dominant wide receivers, it's going to be hard to double team both of them at all
right,
times.
right.
And I think this is going to be the first real test since the Eagles got hot in order to guard those type of caliber receivers when they have two of them. So I'm gonna go with the Rams this week as well, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles come in and steal the show.
Nonetheless, Monday Night Football, for those of y'all still in a classroom, whether you're a teacher or a student, man, it is Thanksgiving weekend, baby. So that means it's Thanksgiving Monday. And for those of you who have it off, I am more than sure that after the long sleep you'll be able to wake up and get yourself some Monday Night Football, 8:15 EST, 7:15 Central Time, Ravens versus the Bengals. A-Dub, this rivalry cuts deep. I mean, these two teams, they don't like each other and they know it. They surely make sure that you understand we don't like you, you don't like us, and that is more than fine with either of us. So, Ravens versus Bengals. I like.
Hold
And
up.
oh,
Hold up. There's been a mistake given in for this lineup right here.
our
Apologies for
producers,
that.
man, our producers not doing a job this
Apologies.
week.
Apologies for that. I don't know where the hiccup was for that, but it is actually Ravens versus Chargers.
My apologies. Ravens versus Chargers coming up. And I think I really I don't have too much trust right now in the Chargers. First year head coach, or not first year head coach, but his first year in this with this Chargers team. I think I like the Ravens. I think Lamar Jackson's going to kind of have a little bit of a bounce back game. I think they're really going to start connecting a lot more. And again, man, you just can't deny the king. Derrick Henry is an animal this year. I mean, as he's always been. He's going to continue to be so. So I like the Ravens in this one.
Uh, when it comes down to this game, it could go either way. You just saw Justin Herbert get hot early against the Bengals and torched them badly. And we all know that the Ravens secondary is the worst here in this league, giving up the most points to wide receivers fantasy wise.
Yeah.
And the Chargers don't have the starlight receivers, but they have the starlight quarterback that makes them look like starlight receivers. But ultimately, it's going to come down to coaching to me personally, because
Absolutely.
we got two brothers on the field together that know exactly how the other one operates, what's their kink, what's their go-to, what they like calling on what down. It's going to come down to who do we think could figure out the other one the fastest and shut it down. And if I'm remembering correctly, the coach that won the Super Bowl was the one on the Ravens right now.
Yes, sir.
And if he the one out coached you in the Super Bowl, I'm riding with him. So give me the Ravens to beat the Chargers, because to me, he figures you out, coach. Unless you came up with something new by spending your time in Michigan, hey, it's gonna be tough picking. So give me the Ravens.
Hey, nonetheless, this matchup's gonna make Thanksgiving really, really awkward. So shout out to the Harbaugh family, man. Trying to make sure no matter what happens, we still have some kind of Thanksgiving. Might do it on Zoom, just have the two families on Zoom or something. I don't know, man. But nonetheless, folks, that's our episode for the week, man. Some of these awards that we have, if you got your own fantasy league, man, let us know who you would nominate in your fantasy for these awards and why, man. What did they do? What kind of upset did they have? What kind of letdown did they have? Were they a major crash out this week? Show us some of the worst scores that you've had in your league. But nonetheless, kick it over to main man A-Dub for the sign out.
Hey, man, appreciate y'all for tuning in to another episode here in the Crash Out League. If you made it to this point, hit the subscribe button. If you haven't already. I don't know why you haven't already, but you need to go ahead and do it.
Get to it.
Hit the like button, because hopefully we entertained y'all enough and gave you enough content for you to be able to hit that like button. Share, let your friends know. Just like Manny said, talk to us in those comments. Send us those worst scores. Send us who you think is a coach of the year based off all of the videos that we've been dropping weekly. And if you don't know, go ahead, go back and catch up with the rest of them.
Do it all, man. Just go for it.
You know what I mean? But once again, appreciate y'all for tuning in to another episode here in this league. It's your boy A-Dub, and I'm with my co-host Manny Boy, and we're going to sign out right here for the second to last week of the regular season.
Peace.